Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
A very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host, Edmond Kizito. On Spectrum tonight, assessing the Uganda-European Union cooperation. How is the EU helping Uganda in achieving its national objectives? The European Union has over the years provided multi-sectoral assistance to Uganda in many crucial areas to help the country realize tangible development, making the EU the biggest donor to this country. This assistance follows the commitment of millions of taxpayers in Europe to donate annually millions of euros towards this cause. This support has been directed to different social, political, and economic affairs of the country. Currently, the EU is funding several development projects, but realizing that the destiny of the country lies in the nature of governance, the delegation is currently engaging government and all political players in the country in a political dialogue to deal with some core trouble spots. The EU has also previously run a program dubbed the Deepening Democracy Program as the country prepared for last year's general elections. This was followed by a report by an observer mission about how the elections went and what needs to be done before the next round in 2016. On Wednesday this week, Europe Day will be commemorated under the theme Growing Stronger Together. As we prepare for this day, we now take a deep look at the cooperation between Uganda and the EU to understand how both partners are benefiting from one another and what is expected to ensure that the goals of cooperating are eventually attained. Our guest tonight is His Excellency Ambassador Roberto, head of the European Union delegation to Uganda. You're most welcome, Ambassador Ridolfi.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone.
Ambassador, let's try to understand the EU delegation. When you talk about this day, what exactly do you mean, the European Union delegation to Uganda?
Oh, thank you for the question, because now, in fact, we can call even ourselves an embassy. After the Treaty of Lisbon in 2009, the European Union gave to itself a foreign service and a foreign minister. This is in the person of Lady Baroness Catherine Ashton, who is the High Representative for Foreign Policy of the European Council and at the same time the Vice President of the European Commission in charge of external relations. By mandate of the 27 EU countries, this she is assisted by a service called the European External Action Service, which is made by embassies and by delegations with staff all over the world. And we provide, as in any national administration, the foreign service, but on top of that we also continue to provide the development assistance that before was on the head of delegation of the European Commission. So there is this small but very important difference which has shifted the paradigm of our presence from donors to development partners and from development partners to full political partners.
So in the past we had development assistance from individual countries and partnerships. Does that mean that has been mashed into the EU? They now do it through you, they funnel it through you?
No, the European countries continue to do their bilateral assistance, and I want to stress the importance and the blessing of Uganda to have 10 European embassies. This is not normal. In a country like Uganda, with the size of Uganda, with a geostrategic distance from Europe as Uganda, we can find 5, 4, 6 embassies, but in Uganda we have 10. So this tells you the friendship, the very strong ties that link European countries to Uganda. So they continue to do bilateral development assistance, but they also contribute to the European Union development assistance. Some of them that are present in Uganda don't do a lot of bilateral assistance here, but certainly through us they are present and they enjoy the benefits of this friendship and cooperation.
And so broadly, what does your embassy do?
Well, we do cater for all the external policies of the European Union, namely trade. You may have seen articles in the press very recently on the economic partnership agreement, which is a little bit controversial. You may have seen articles on importation of food to Europe, and therefore sometimes we have to reject consignments because they don't match the sanitary standards. We have to take care of our relationship, of course, in terms of political relations. Diplomacy, pure diplomacy, but I would say building the regional dimension, international relations. So we are very, very keen to engage, and we are engaging with Uganda on matters of regional security, regional response to drought and sometimes to flood. So we are engaged at 360 degrees.
360 degrees indeed. Interesting. Well, listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight we are assessing the Uganda-European Union cooperation, or asking the question, how is the EU helping Uganda in achieving its national objectives? And we're hosting His Excellency Ambassador Roberto Ridolfi, head of the EU delegation to Uganda. At some stage you'll be able to call in and ask him questions. Ambassador, on Wednesday you will mark the EU Day. What exactly does this mean, this EU Day?
Oh, thank you. On 9th of May 1950, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of France, Mr. Schuman, he pronounced a speech with a vision, very strong vision. 1950, so we are only 5 years after the biggest conflict ever experienced by humanity, which was the Second World War.
Yes.
So after 5 years, this gentleman, and you know, the conflict was also around resources, and there is a particular river, which is the Rhine River, marking the border between France and Germany, where there are a lot of mines of coal and steel and iron, from which you do steel. And coal was energy, steel was weapons. So around the sharing of coal and steel resources, the vision of this man and few other politicians of that period with him, they said, no, if we put together the resources, there won't be any more somebody that is ripping them for building weaponry and therefore attacking others. So there was a peace idea. Sharing resources, sharing the human capital, but at the beginning all started with coal and steel. And then from there, little by little, 6 countries, and then 10, and then 12, 15, and then 25, 27. And next year, 28, with Croatia. So Schuman that day, on the 9th of May, pronounced a speech that became famous, calling for this peace. So the whole idea of Europe is not trade, is not money, is peace. And therefore I'm very, very proud to represent the European Union here. And on Wednesday, certainly, I will recall that day, and we will all remember where we started from. Now it's very easy for a number of people to look at the euro crisis. The euro is a solid currency, I can tell you. Look at the exchange rate with the dollars of the euro. It didn't go any down. What is the problem is the public debt and the lack of fiscal convergence. So in our talk with East African brothers and sisters, we say, before the monetary union, have a look at the fiscal policies. You must have an alignment, you must have a convergence of fiscal policies, but I don't want to annoy the listeners with fiscal issues.
All right. When you talk about fiscal issues, you talk about taxation and use of government taxes, government revenues.
Yes, indeed.
All right, let's talk about the EU's activities here in Uganda, your engagements with this government. We understand you provided billions of dollars, of euros, in development assistance. Can you give us a breakdown of some of the things that you've been doing here?
Well, it's very simple. We are busy, let's say, in 3 main sectors. One is infrastructure. We are the main grant provider for building roads in Uganda, and especially corridors linking Uganda with the regional trade and the regional corridors. The second pillar is certainly agriculture, which is the green oil of Uganda. The wealth of Uganda is not black, it's green. Since we are in spectrum, I think we should highlight colors tonight. So the first one is green.
Yes.
So we are in agriculture, and within rural development, of course, we are in a particular fashion in the north, where, as you know, there is a need of reconstruction, there is a need of development, and extra effort, and in Karamoja. The third, and sometimes most important aspect, which is very, very close linked to the capacity of Uganda to really do the socio-economic transformation, is governance. I say governance because I don't want to even to mention good or bad governance. There is only one governance, which is good, of course. So governance has got many aspects. We are involved in a program that is on governance and accountability. We try to assist the police, we assist the parliament, we assist the auditor general, we assist a number of institutions. The president a few weeks ago told me that the constitution of Uganda is a beautiful piece of work. I agree with him. And he said that the problem is that we as Ugandans, we have not implemented it. And that's really something on which we can all agree. We have to strive to implement the totality of the Constitution of Uganda, which is an excellent piece of work. And so accountability and governance are fundamental for Uganda to provide everything it needs to its citizens, and therefore going to middle-income status.
All right. Would you like to break down for us the infrastructure projects that you have done or are doing?
Yes, I think I can mention certainly the Masaka Mbarara, which is about to be completed. We have opened the first 90 kilometers in November, but should be completed, I think, around September, October this year. We have started in December with a beautiful opening, breaking up at the border of Katuna with Rwanda, with both presidents, and I was there. That was a very historical picture, believe me, to have these two immense state personalities like President Kagame and President Museveni together. And it was a privilege for me to be there to open the Katuna Mbarara. So Masaka Mbarara, Mbarara Katuna. The government is financing Masaka Kampala. In the past years, we financed Kampala up to the border to Kenya. So you see the northern corridor, I mean the corridor coming from Kenya and going to Rwanda, has been totally financed by the European Union, of course. And that is, we are doing also helping to set up maintenance, recurrent maintenance by UNRWA and by the Ministry of Works, and this is our involvement in roads. Unfortunately, we have been giving grants. I shouldn't say unfortunately, because grants are much better than loans, but grants are limited. So in the near future, what we have to look at, and looking at the oil resources coming towards Uganda, we have to look at building the massive investment in infrastructure that Uganda needs, so for the private sector then develop quickly and sustainably. What we cannot do the 5,000 kilometers of roads that Uganda needs in 50 years. We must do them in 10 years, so that they will be available for the trade, for the private sector, for the agricultural produce to roll and be distributed and be produced. That's the key challenge today. And we want to use our grants to make loans much, much cheaper and much more affordable, but then locking the oil resources to the payment for this infrastructure in the future, so that future generation, your children, will benefit from this decision of today to build for them infrastructure and paying out of part of the oil revenues, so that oil revenues are also blocked for something good and they don't risk to be misused or abused in the future by whoever, who knows. So this is a very key part, and certainly we have to look into railways in the near future. It's fundamental at least to have one railway in this country. Right. And I think the government is right in putting the attention into railways and road. And then, of course, electricity, energy. Very recently, the European Union came here with the UN, with a special representative from Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General, because we are the main sponsors of Sustainable Energy for All initiative, which aims to actually shorten the objective, the target of Uganda, that was to give electricity to everybody by 2035. The Sustainable Energy for All initiative of UN and EU is aiming to get electricity to everybody by 2030. So trying to shorten. And of course we have now to make a plan of investments. Some of the investments will fetch private investors, some others not, and that's where we shall help and assist. But this is the infrastructure part, made by energy and by transport.
Let's talk about the agriculture. We understand you have the Agricultural Equity Fund.
Yes.
That you
we are setting up an equity fund.
Yeah.
Agriculture. Maybe somebody in your family is a farmer or very close to you. My grandfather was a farmer, and he was telling me something. Be very, very, very afraid of loans, because loans can kill farming. And with this interest rate that we have now, we can bet, not only because of the high interest rate, but because farming is not something like trade. Yes. I buy 3 bottles of water at 5 and I resell them the day after at 6. I got my profit. Farming, you plant, it rains, it doesn't rain, you don't know, maybe it rains too much or there is a disease. So you need to give agriculture 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And with this interest rate, you will kill any business. So what we need to give, since grants are not enough for everybody, we need to give equity. You are a good farmer, you are a good business plan in your head, I believe in you, and I give part of my money buying part of your company, but a small part. So you are in charge, you are the driving force. I don't buy land at all. And besides, I am a local because I'm looking at NSSF, for example. Why not NSSF investing in the farmers of Uganda? Why not? In farmers with good idea and with good potential, but that's what we need. We need 2, 3, 4, 5,000 small and medium farmers invest a lot in agriculture to produce a surplus and export in the region first, in the Arab world, and then even in poorer Europe.
So you provide, this is more or less a targeted fund. You provide it and you try to create a capacity mindset change to unlock funds, for instance, in the NSSF and maybe in other banks.
Absolutely. This will be a totally private driven. So if you are really the good business plan and I believe in you, I will invest my money into you, and after 7, 8 years you will buy back the shares that today you are selling to me to a premium, and that's my gain. You will have your gain because you will keep your 80-90% of your shares, so you will go on. And we are looking at big markets. There is a great interest, and the potential of Uganda is certainly in that, not in oil. Oil should put the oil, the grease in the engine of this green revolution.
All right, we'll probably talk about oil at some stage. Let's talk about the agricultural bank. Some people have said this country needs an agricultural bank. Can the economy support one?
Well, if you ask yourself, if there is not already an agricultural bank, that means that there is no business for a specialized bank in agriculture. As I said, the financial sector in Uganda is pretty okay. I don't see a lot of wrong. There is competition. I think there is about 20 or something more. 23 banks. They are competing among themselves. They are making profit. They are lending money. People have access to credit. The problem is agriculture specificity. So you can answer with a dedicated bank, or you can answer with other forms of financing. First of all, as technical assistance, so to give a little bit of business mind to the farmers and the agribusiness, but not the big ones. The big ones, they don't need our money. The very small ones, they are not today capable to getting into it, but there is an intermediate layer of people that are the engine of growth, and we should really bet on this. Bet on them means, as I say, becoming their partners, their shareholders, and say, okay, you continue to do what you are doing, you do a little bit more, and you will go much better. That's it. And I stayed put about 4, 5, 6, 7 years until such a time in which you have developed, and that time you say, okay, can I have my money back plus my return, and you continue on your own. So that is a little bit something that we have to look into. We had a round table in November, last November, when Commissioner Peebles was here. It was very interesting. The bankers were very happy about the idea, because this is complementary to what banks do.
Yes.
The banks give working capital, we give long-term asset investments.
Yes.
That's complementary.
Right.
You don't build something only with short-term loans, because then you will be quickly in financial difficulties. So we see a big potential, but on the other hand, we shall not forget certain regions where this approach is immature. For example, in Karamoja.
Yes.
I don't have that agriculture potential in Karamoja. I don't have the livestock potential in Karamoja. Therefore, I have to continue with, let's say, more traditional development approaches. That is, to assist with programs, assisted by us, by FIO, by many other partners. And with this kind of assistance, we try to move little by little the economy. We had a very, very big meeting on the 7th of March in Moroto, where Honorable Museveni, the First Lady,
yes.
she was there.
Yes.
And I think we did agree at that time that pastoralism shall continue to be in Karamoja, aside to a growing agriculture activity. But the two things must live together if we want to give that place a chance. Of course, on the other side, local authorities and other line ministries should do their part in terms of health, education, and so forth. So you see, we are staying in the traditional way of supporting vulnerable groups and critical areas, but at the same time we shall recognize and push the economic growth potential of other sites.
So you're talking about 3 areas. You're talking about mechanization, maybe providing asset financing, irrigation, and fertilizer. Those are 3 things you'll be looking at.
Yes, but you can also look at the cold chain. For example, let's look at the beef business. Beef business in Uganda can really boom. Exporting beef. Is there the appetite for it? I don't know. But certainly you need to invest in cold chain. Good abattoirs system, and then after that a good fridge. Storage system, refrigerated and so forth. Somebody say, the state should do it, but it doesn't work.
Right. Well, listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio 1. We'll go for a break. We'll be back. Do stay tuned. When we come back, we'll talk about governance, why the EU is interested in politics. Do stay tuned.
When Junior lost his appetite, his mother tried all methods to get him to eat. She tried scary stories.
Eat, Tommy, eat, or the big black elephant will come and eat all your food.
She tried magic.
Tommy, if you eat your food, I will turn this handkerchief into sweets. Look, bumble, bumble, boom, boom.
Then she discovered Apetol multivitamin syrup with lysine.
Mommy, I finished all the food. I am number 1.
Apetol multivitamin with lysine is helping mothers to turn mealtime frustration to a fun moment. Apetol has a great taste and contains lysine, which quickly improves your child's appetite and supports healthy growth. Apetol, help for life.
Wait, turn off the music. Guys, please, no more cows. My wife is calling and I told her I was going to the farm.
Honey, how is the farm?
The farm is very fine.
And the cows?
You can hear, they're grazing.
Well, next time tell them to eat grass and not beer. I'm seated behind you.
Hi, honey.
Unlike humans, structures built with Hima cement don't lie. Different types of projects require different cement. We offer the widest range of cement products in the market and are most preferred by all kinds of builders. So if you're thinking about building, think Hima cement. Hima cement, part of you from the start.
John, Mike and I, we go back a bit. We knew John at the beginning, working for someone else. But he was different. He had vision, saw opportunities. He started working towards his goal, opened his own garage, and worked, learning the hard way. His reputation spread. Trust, consistency, quality. Soon people were coming to him from all parts. He made himself and his whole street prosper, and also helped friends, seeing potential in people and helping them on. But John never shouts about all his success. He's just who he is. Special.
So here's to men like John, who make a difference, who enjoy Nile Special, the rich, satisfying taste from the source. Nile Special. You've earned it.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
Accept no substitutes.
Radio 1, FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum tonight, assessing the Uganda-EU cooperation. How is the European Union helping Uganda in achieving its national objectives? Our guest tonight is His Excellency Ambassador Roberto RIDOLFI, head of the European Union delegation to Uganda. You will be able to call in and ask him questions.
Yes, indeed.
Ambassador, before we went for the break, you're talking to us about the three areas, these three core areas of the EU's activities, the infrastructure, the road, the northern corridor. You spoke about agriculture and so on and so forth. Let's talk about governance. Why do you get interested in governance?
Well, first of all, because a friend, a partner, is interested in the well-doing of the other friend. And the well-doing is largely given, yes, by the investments, yes, by the money flowing to the place, but also on how the place is run. We are political partners, I said from the beginning. So even tomorrow, when Uganda will stop to be a least developed country and will become a middle-income country, we will be there. We will be there engaging in political dialogue. We will be there engaging in security and the reflex of democracy in the society. So it is very natural, according to the agreement that the European Union has with Uganda, which is the Cotonou Agreement, this big pact between 77 African, Caribbean, Pacific countries and 27 European countries, is a big pact. By virtue of this, we are engaged politically. And so a natural consequence is the governance sector. Governance sector is a sector in which you look at the prosperity of the institutions, how they are working, do they deliver, for example, justice. The President says, and we agree, we need the expeditious justice in this country. And we know that there is a certain justice at high levels, which is well reputed, which is working, but a certain justice at different levels, which we don't know very well, and we hear cases of corruptions, even in the judiciary and so forth. So there are areas where we can work. Police and security in general. UPDF is the grantor of stability to Uganda. We have to give act to that. I mean, it is a fact.
Yes.
And this fact has brought in the north now what is coming back development. The police is now taking over, has done a lot of work in the last 2 years to take over from UPDF in the charges of civilian. That's why, of course, the Human Rights Commission finds all the abuses now in the police and no more in the UPDF, right. Because the police has taken charge of everything. So we need now to help the police to serve the citizens, which I think they are trying to do. Yes, there are still unfunctioning reflections and reactions. Yes, sometimes there is an excessive use of violence. All in all, I would even call upon, for example, demonstrators also to refrain themselves to bad behavior and from violence, which is the first suggestion one should always give. But it's true that there is still a scope for improvement, and therefore we are engaged in that area. We are engaged with Parliament. It's very, very important, the activity of Parliament as a watchdog. Parliament is the main conscience of the country, and in that sense must be interpreted. You don't expect Parliament to agree with the executive. You expect, in fact, Parliament to challenge the executive every day, even if the majority in Parliament is for the executive. That's a situation in which I think you need also skills. Assertiveness and being bold on things is good, but having been trained to know and to spot on how to detect in the budget problems is another matter, and we are committed to that. We are also, last but not least, committed with the civic society in Uganda. There is a civic society in need.
NGOs and so on.
Yes,
Advocacy
civic society organization, both in the service delivery aspect and in the advocacy aspect. Both of them need support. Both of them, we are entering into a structural dialogue and a transparent dialogue in which the government is not an hostile entity, but the government must transparently see and participate to this. And we are trying, because, service delivering NGOs can help a lot, but also advocacy NGOs can help a lot. I like very much the Baraza system in Uganda. And I understand Baraza comes from a terminology that means veranda. So in the veranda you have a shade.
Yes.
And you can relax and you can talk about the problems and find solutions. I like very much the image of this veranda, maybe on the shade of a tree instead of a concrete. But that is where the advocacy group can plug in and provide the communities the expertise they need to keep in check and balance the executive, the district authorities that are supposed to deliver the budget money that we also provide as budget support to roads, health, education, and so and so.
All right. Do you tag your aid at some stages?
What do you mean?
Well, you provide conditionalities. If you don't treat the opposition well, we won't give you aid.
Well, that's quite a simplification. We say if the fundamental pillars of human rights and democracy and the rule of law are breached to an extent, then we do suspend aid, as we do in a number of countries, and that is an article of our Cotonou Agreement.
All right. Let's talk about the post-2011 election recommendations. You had a big EU delegation here to observe the elections. You wrote a report. Have your recommendations been taken up?
Not yet.
What has happened? It's 1 year down the road.
Yes, 1 year down the road we don't see a lot of progress, but we have also to look at the recommendations, and they are complex in nature. There are technical recommendations, some of them have been taken up by the Electoral Commission, but there are more political, I would say more institutional recommendations. A big problem with the election last year, the most important problem, was the lack of recognized, perceived impartiality of the Electoral Commission. So, and when you don't have that one, you miss a lot. So we are trying to study and try to engage for the social and political actors in Uganda, for them to engage in a very, very pacific, peaceful discussion on how this perception of impartiality can be increased. And there are examples in Brazil, in Ghana, in other countries, where there are systems through which the appointment of the Electoral Commission is perceived much, much more as a confidence building, rather than, you appoint those people so that they will defend you. And that is an important point, recognized by both His Excellency the President, by, of course, the parties in the opposition, and now they have to talk to each other. We are external. There is an inner circle, which is the domestic actors. There is a more peripheral circle, which is the regional actors in the East African community, and then there is the outer circle, which is the international community. So we are in the outer circle, and where the work must be produced is really in the inner circle of dialogue. And we read with a certain satisfaction that political parties of Uganda are meeting in Tanzania, and they are discussing over under Commonwealth, and they are discussing issues of national interest. And I can confirm to you that the President is engaged in issues of national interest to be discussed peacefully to find a solution. And I think now is the good time, because When we come too close to the next elections, everything will be blocked, will be closed. But now we still have a window of opportunity.
Ambassador, let's talk about corruption. The ogre or the monster of corruption as perceived from here. Does it bother you at all at the EU?
It does. And I would say it doesn't bother us more than it bothers the Ugandans themselves. I think there is now a big recognition by the citizens, by the people paying taxes, like you, that corruption is hitting on everybody, but most importantly, is hitting on the poor people. Because corruption, cuts those that are not defended by themselves. So there is a real issue, I would say, even of ethical in making sure that corruption is fought appropriately. From what concerns our point of view, I think we are trying also to assist the government in this. What I was mentioning you before, the Auditor General Office, together with the Parliament Office, they can do a good work into corruption. But corruption, unfortunately, is not only in the top levels. Corruption, you have to look at it a very pervasive phenomenon, and it's not unique to the Uganda society, unfortunately. So we have to look at it as really a cancer. That's something that must be isolated, that must be confined, must be reduced, shrinked little by little, day by day, by the activity of each one of us. And I really call upon all who's listening to do every day a small act that will make corruption more difficult for those that are practicing it. Because starting from all of us at the bottom level, also at the top level, there will be a reflection of this, and vice versa. The top level is trying to give certain guidance. We are very, very grateful for this appointment of the IGG, very recent.
Yes.
And this is an extremely important factor in a country where the independence of the judiciary is quite okay. Therefore, if there is a body that is in charge of producing solid investigation, and that body delivers to the courts will do their part.
All right, maybe Ambassador RIDOLFI, before we hear from the listeners, talk to us about oil a little bit. Are you happy with our preparations to receive the oil? Do you think the monies will be spent well? Do we have the structures and the readiness to hold the leaders accountable in using that money?
I think the structures are being built. There is a bill currently under debate, another bill by finance under consideration. The determination of the executive is there, and I want to give you also news that the government has agreed to enter into the extraction industry transparency initiative.
EITI? That is news, they've accepted to enter it?
Absolutely. This has been confirmed by His Excellency in person, by the Minister of Energy in more than one occasions, and I think in June there will be a mission of EITI. So let's hope that this can become a reality very soon. In fact, the government has confirmed that there is nothing to hide, and transparency will assist and help in the management of oil business. Oil business, as I said, is a cross-generation issue and a cross-party issue. So I think it's for the future of Uganda how to use these resources very well.
Listeners, this is Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight, assessing the Uganda-European Union cooperation. How is the EU helping this country in achieving its national objectives? Our guest is His Excellency Ambassador Roberto RIDOLFI, head of the European Union delegation to Uganda. You can call in now and ask him questions or make general comments or contributions to this discussion. Our numbers 0414-348-111, 0312-260-390, 0312-261-390. Spectrum, hello? Hello? Alright, let's continue as the lines are being rectified. There seems to be a small fault on those lines. You still will be able to call in before the show is out. Ambassador, you spoke about this dialogue between the different political players. What do you expect to achieve? A government of national unity or what?
No.
All right, maybe let's...
Yes.
Okay.
Let's pick up.
Spectrum, hello? Okay, all right, let's go. Yes, go on. Spectrum, hello? Hello? Yes, Max?
You see, Mr.
Ambassador, you would like to respond to that?
Yes, I think it's a pertinent question.
Okay, let's take them all together.
Let's take another one.
Spectrum, hello? Hello? You're live on Spectrum, your name? Okay. Alright, well, we picked you up. You were not able to speak. Speak now. Spectrum, hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir, your name? Very well, thank you.
Mr. Ambassador?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, your name?
My name is Rogers.
Yes, Rogers.
I have an issue with the ambassador.
Spectrum, hello? Yes? Yes, Benjamin. Spectrum, hello.
Yes, Edmond, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Your name?
I'm called Edmond.
Yes, sir. Let's get back to the studio. Ambassador, would you like to take them on now?
Oh yes, thank you to all listeners for the questions. I didn't grasp very well the name, so I will go in order. The first question was, why don't you do like the Japanese, instead of giving the money, just come here and build the road, build the school. But you see, this doesn't work. This was also in the colonial time that was happening. Somebody was coming here, maybe with people from another country, and building a railway, or building something. I would like to mention our Lord. If somebody is hungry, don't give him a fish, but teach him how to fish. And this is exactly the partnership. EU does not come here to do what we want to do. We do come here, we discuss with the government, we also listen to the civic society and everybody, and then we try to do what we are asked to. And what we are asked is to build capacity for Uganda to stand on its feet. And so I would say that yes, sometimes we do ourselves. And I go to the number 3 of our listeners in Karamoja. This is very much what we try to do. We try to deliver. We try to go there with the equipment, with people, and try to assist and build. And I would like to thank the listener for the example. He mentioned Ireland, Germany, but there are many more doing things of the Europeans. And I said before that there are NGOs there, European NGOs, linked or not to the church, that are there since 40 years. And I think we have to all to commend these people for their dedication to that difficult area. But little by little we will come out. So in that place, for example, we do, as the first listener was saying, you don't give the money, but you try to build what we need. The problem is also that you don't always need buildings. Sometimes you need software or humanware. Humanware being good doctors, good nurses, good teachers. And that you have to pay these people. And I'm not supposed to pay a teacher. It's the government that pays the teacher. So we have to go through the government machinery. There is a lot to say about budget support, but when it works, budget support is the highest form of development assistance, because that means that I trust your systems, I help you to build systems of control and spending the public money, and then my money becomes your public money, and we together try to improve the management. Now, the other question was, yes, you give assistance, but sometimes this goes in TAs and goes back more than 50% to Europe with consultants or other things. Well, in part this is true, but it's not totally true. What is true is that sometimes when we publish a tender to build a road, we ask companies to bid. And very, very often these are Nigerian companies. Sometimes there are even Chinese companies winning our tenders. What I mean is that they are incorporated in Uganda, but with Chinese shareholders, and this is within the law. As long as they pay their taxes in Uganda, we are happy, and as long as they do a good work. So, you see, it's not a tied aid that we say you have to buy Mercedes and Land Rover and, I don't know, Fiat cars, Volkswagen. You can buy whatever car you want. You want to buy a Toyota because the Toyota is better, please do so. So there is no kind, and there are concrete realizations. Last question was on Bujagali. I think it's a very pertinent question, but be careful. We are in town. I don't know where the listener was calling from, but Uganda gives access only to 10% of its citizens to electricity. Only 10%.
That's true, yes.
10, 12. So there will be a small surplus in July from Bujagali, a small surplus. That won't last long because the demand for electricity is growing. I went to Arua, West Nile. That region can boom the economy of the whole of Uganda only if they would have electricity to do production and value addition to food and sell it to Congo and to South Sudan. But they don't have electricity.
So we need electricity.
Absolutely. Electricity is fundamental for development.
All right, let's talk about this governance. You are engaging in, arranging talks between the opposition and government representatives. What do you hope to achieve from that? We just had an election.
Yes, as I said before, we don't have ideas on what we want to achieve. Our main objective is to put the people to discuss, so that at the next election, the result, whatever will be accepted by everybody. I think this is a key national interest, that the elections are accepted by whoever wins and by whoever loses. That is fundamental for the social peace. And if one of the factors that are blocking that is the appointment system of the Electoral Commission, well, they could have a look at it. As I say, the government is willing to do so, therefore why don't they try to do it. So there is no national unity government on the side. No. The government has a majority in parliament, they should rule, they should do their administration. But there are national issues, very strategic, very important, that should be discussed by everybody.
Ambassador Roberto Ridolfi, thank you very much indeed for coming to Spectrum.
It has been my pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Well, Ambassador Ridolfi is the head of the EU, that's the European Union delegation to Uganda. Thank you very much for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond. Spectrum will be back tomorrow. Up next, though, is the news in English. Do stay tuned.
Everybody are, but some stars shine brighter. Oh yeah, be a standout.